at the 4 and Covington, or excuse me, PJ at the 5, Covington at the 4. How you look to attack that without giving out too many state secrets?
Well, I mean, just to speak on Houston, their size, and I'm not talking about height. I'm just talking about their size and athleticism allows them to cover a lot of ground on the floor, especially in the half court. Very scrappy bunch, and they do a good job of turning you over. You got to be very cautious with careless passing, especially in the interior, because they do a really good job. They got guys with great hands. PJ Covington, Russ, James. They do a really good job with ball hawking the ball. So you just got to be very mindful of that.
And then defensively, just the key with the dribble penetration for Russ and James, and kind of keeping them off the rim, but not rotating too far off all those shooters, right? That they want to have open. How do you strike that balance as a defense?
You got to just go with the defensive game plan, and obviously you can't give up both. Obviously you can't give up everything at the rim and then everything at the three-point line. So, with Russ and James, they're just so dynamic that you understand that they're going to get theirs. But you got to be able to limit their free throw attempts. James is number 1 in our league at free throw attempts and free throws made. Been like that for the last 5 years probably, if not more. So you can't allow him to make his threes, but also put him on the free throw line and get in the paint. So you got to be able to try to take something away. But at the end of the day, you have a game plan and just try to execute that as much as you can in the close to 48 minutes.
Hey, LeBron, it's Dave. Back when we were in normal times with the All-Star draft, you picked Dame, and you played in the first round. You picked Russ and James, also to your second-round opponents. There's that term, your favorite player's favorite player. I don't know if you ever heard that thrown around, but what appeals to you about James and Russ? What's the extra stuff that they have that maybe the average fan might not see?
I think what people get lost in translation with James is how available he is to his teammates, night in and night out. I mean, if you look at how many games he plays per year and how many minutes he plays throughout the course of his career, pretty much he's always been available. He's always been in uniform, and he's been doing this at a high level for a lot of years. I think that's what kind of get lost in translation because everybody kind of looks at Euro stepping and step back threes, but when you're available to your teammates, that's gigantic to any sport or any craft or anything that you're doing in life. If you're just available to someone, they know they can always count on you. I think that's pretty much one of the best things that people don't recognize. Well, Russ, he's just an assassin. He's full throttle, and he could care less when anyone thinks about his game. He goes on and play his way, and he's been successful with doing that. So, they're two great basketball players. Two really good guys. Great guys. More importantly, but they just do what they do. They go out and they take care of their business, and they pretty much don't care what anyone says. By just the way they play.
All right, Tanya.
Brian, you made such a push for voting and fighting voter suppression and encouraging people to vote. There was that figure that came out that only 20% of NBA players voted in the last election. Why do you think that's the case, and do you think that will change going forward?
Why do I think that's the case? I have no idea, but you can always go back to, like I always talk about, how black kids and black people in the community don't believe that their vote matters. We don't think, we grow up and we don't think that our vote actually matters to who becomes president. We've seen recounts before. We've seen our voice be muted over our whole lives. And I believe that a lot of people, including even when you get to the NBA, you still have those same life things that's kind of hunted you when you were younger. That's kind of got to this point now. For me, my goal is to change that and to educate, not only my peers but their communities as well, to let them know that our voice is being heard, our vote is being counted, and it's a huge push for us as a nation to take that right. That is a right that we have, and to use it, in the greater scheme. So. That's all I can say about it.
Talgoon.
You brought up James' step back threes. It's a shot we see you working on a lot. and warm-ups and things like that. And I think the last series, he took 80 shots, and all of them were either in the paint or threes. You know, did James' success with the step-back three sort of motivate you or inspire you to kind of conquer that shot and make it part of your regular arsenal?
No.
Okay, Chris Mannix.
Right along those same lines with voting, what did 18-year-old LeBron think of voting? I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but for yourself, when you turned 18, did you think about voting, and what got you engaged?
No, it wasn't important. I'll just explain why. No, it wasn't important to me at 18. 18-year-old LeBron was fresh out of high school, and the only thing was on my mind was buying my mom a house, because of everything that she sacrificed for me and everything that she did for me from when I was born to getting to when I was 18 and I got drafted. And it all depends what point in time that was. So 18 happened in December. I didn't go into the draft until that following June. But my whole senior year, all I was thinking about was maintaining my focus so I can get my mom out of this situation that she's in, and where she never have to worry about anything again in life. So now voting was not on my mindset at that point in time. And that's just all about growth. I think that's the best thing about humans and human beings, when you can just grow throughout the course of your life. And now I'm on the verge of being 36 and understand what this moment is about as well.
Do you remember when it first became part of your mindset?
Do you remember the person that you voted?
To be completely honest, I don't. I know for sure that it became a real thing when I started seeing Barack do his thing. That was just something, like, for us growing up in the communities we grew up in, we always looking for inspiration. We always looking at, moments in time where we can be like, oh yeah, I can follow that. To know that we grew up our whole lives and going through presidents in the history books, and they've always shown us, and it always felt like every picture was never our kind. And for Barack to come along and to see the things that he was preaching but also stood for, and to see, his queen next to him, Michelle, that was something that I was like, oh, I need to dive all the way into that. Not only from, not on the political, because that's not what I'm about, but just from a point of what this moment means. This moment was so much bigger than himself and him getting into the White House, and he understood that, and I wanted to be a part of that. So I think that's when I really started to really get into it on that side.
Cassidy, please.
LeBron, obviously a layoff in the playoffs is nothing new to you, but everything in this bubble is new. So we saw you have some rest and relaxation, but how did you spend this last week off, essentially?
Training, video games, working on my body, and drinking wine.
Just to follow up, how much talk was about that Blazers game one to not repeat that, given that they're coming off the 7-game series?
It hasn't been discussed up until this point. It could be brought up between now and tomorrow night, but it has not been discussed. We understood, and we knew, from the sense of all of the 8 seeding games from Portland were playoff games. They didn't have an opportunity to kind of get back into a rhythm, to see what they were working with, to see what they had. They knew they had to go right away, and they showed it in game 1 versus us. So that should still be in everyone's individual minds on understanding what they came out of. But every series is gonna have its own challenges and its own differences, and how you get better from that. So, and at the end of the day, we played well enough to win game 1 in that Portland series, and we let Dame time and do what he does. And as soon as he crossed half court, he hit 2 bombs on us. CJ hit a bomb, and they got us in those last 3 minutes of game 1. So we were prepared. We didn't close it out.
Sam Amick, please.
Ron, as you're watching Rockets Thunder last night, are you rooting for CP to finish that thing off just because of the personal tie-in? And then now that he's out, how are you going to look back at the influence he had during this historic week and everything y'all did?
I'm rooting for his success. always, but I'm not rooting for any team besides our team. But I was definitely rooting for him to be as great as he could be, and if that happened to come in a win, I would have loved it. And it came in a loss, and I still loved it. And I talked to him after the game. Obviously we're here right now in this bubble, and the restart of our season in large part to him, and to everyone that had anything to do with the NBPA. But CP was very instrumental to this thing getting restarted. So commend him on that, and his leadership. His candid words since he's been here. Both on and off the floor. So just another inspiring person, man. Not only from a basketball perspective, we all know what the percentage is, and all the talk was. They basically, felt like they traded him to the slums, and everybody was like he and laughing about the whole situation. And CP's done whatever, he showed what he's all about. Obviously, I love that part, and then just him understanding the moment as well off the floor, and just speaking to the facts of what's going on in the landscape of the U.S. and the world right now. So much respect to CP for sure.
All right, last two questions. TC will close it out.
All right, let's go to Bill.
Hey, LeBron, could you expand a little bit on just the experience of watching that Game 7 last night and, going literally down to the last second, not knowing who you were going to play? Did you watch it alone? Were you with some of your teammates? What was the environment like, and what was it like watching it?
Man, if you're a fan of basketball, then you love the ending, back to back, possession by possession, and seeing, what can happen. Obviously, I'm not gonna get into the details of how we watched it, but I was with a few of my teammates, quite a few of them, just getting a sense of not only from a scouting aspect, but from a fan aspect as well. And it was a great Game 7. It was for a fan and a fan of the game and the playoffs. I think it was great basketball.
Yeah, LeBron, you've played, I don't know how many playoff series in your career. Where does this rank on just kind of the strangeness stylistically? I mean, they're going no centers. They're going to shoot 53s a game. Just how strange do you think this matchup could be?
It's 5 guys versus 5 guys. It's basketball,